All right, here we go. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use a Rap4 and an N30 Arcade stick. What we're going to do is hook this up to our NES Classic. Now, listen, I know my videos are long, but you got to listen to them. You got to listen to every part because I tell you a lot of little things that you need to follow. Because otherwise you're going to get to the end and you're going to say this didn't work. If you're skipping ahead or trying to get to parts, just listen to the video, okay, and watch what I do and listen to what I say, because there's parts in there that you need to hear. Okay, so anyway, we're going to start with this piece of equipment here, because this is going to be easier to set up because it has Bluetooth, and you're going to be able to plug this right in to your NES Classic or your NES Classic, and you're going to be able to use it right away without any modifications. If you want to use a Rap4, okay, or a Hori, or excuse me, a Mad Catz or some other type of joystick, you're going to have to listen and watch how we do it with this. And again, a lot of people have problems with certain joysticks. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I just know that if you use the equipment I use, if you do what I show you, you're going to be able to use this piece with no problem whatsoever. Okay, so we're going to start with this. We're going to have to update the firmware. Do that before we get started. We're also going to update the firmware on this, which is the Bluetooth 8bitdo retro receiver that you need to use with this if you're going to play an NES, if you're going to use it on the NES Classic. This will work with Switch, Android, Windows, Mac, Steam, without this, obviously. Okay, but this is sold separately. You need this to use this on your SNES Classic. Okay, very simple. Let's go update the firmware and open this bad boy up first and see what we got. Okay, what we're doing, we're going to update the firmware. We're going to go to 8bitdo.com. No W in there. I don't know why I had that. So 8bitdo.com. We're going to go to support. We're going to go to firmware. We're going to find our joystick here. We're going to download firmware 4.10. Okay, we're going to extract it here. Boom, went over here. Okay, I'm going to open it up. We're going to open up this exe file here. Okay, don't worry about that. Click more info, run anyway. It's going to open up. You're going to follow the instructions here, so let's see how that works actually. Okay, you're actually going to hold down the L1 and R1 buttons and the start button, and you're going to see a yellow blinking light. Now we're going to take that cord that came with it and we're going to plug it into the USB port, and then we're going to plug it into your PC. We do that, plug it into there, plug it into my PC. It says USB update here. Update. We're going to select this firmware. Open. New firmware is 4.10. Current is 4.00. Good. Okay, so we're going to update to 4.1. Hit OK. Watch the status bar. Okay, and then when the status bar is complete, it's going to say firmware upgraded. Boom. Good to go. Close out, and then we're going to do the retro receiver next. Okay, so to do the retro receiver, you're going to do the same thing. Go down and find the firmware. It's 1.11. You're going to download, click and unzip, and you're going to get this right here, 8bitdo NES firmware update. So we're going to open that. We're going to do the same thing. Open this. and we're going to insert the retro receiver. The key here is you're going to hold down the pair button, the red button on the 8bitdo, and then you're going to connect it to the PC. Okay, so you hold it down, we plug it in. Okay, it says retro receiver connected now, and version 1.07. I'm going to click update. Then I'm going to click the NES Mini firmware version 1.1, and I'm going to hit open. It's going to say new firmware version 1.11. Yes, that's what we want. Okay, and you're going to let the same thing happen, the status bar go through, and then it's going to be updated with firmware 1.11. Okay, it says updated. Okay, we are done. Let's go back and put this connected to the NESC. Okay, we've updated the firmware, and we're gonna sync this up to the SNES through the Bluetooth retro receiver. Now, as I do this video, I've ran across some issues, which are good because I'm going to show you how to fix them. But what you're going to find out is that with the 8bitdo receiver, using wireless to the SNES Classic, the firmware is incorrect. And what I'm going to show you is that the R2 and the L2 buttons have are set up differently. Okay, the R2 is wired to be a select button, and the L2 is wired to be a start button. That's going to cause a problem, and I'll show you that. But first, let me just hook up here, and in order to sync to your retro receiver, what you're going to do is you're going to be in D input. Make sure you're in D input, not X input. Okay, you're going to hit the red button on the retro receiver while it's in the SNES. You put it in the SNES, and then you hit the red button. Then you're going to hit pair. Now we are actually good to go. You can see I can utilize the menu. I'm on player 1. Okay, and right now I'll just actually I'm gonna go and show you on, I guess we'll just start on the original game. This is running off the Canoe emulator, okay? And I'm just gonna show you how this works on here first, okay? We're just gonna hit the start, okay? I'm gonna hit the option buttons because I'm gonna show you, okay? So right now they have the low punch as Y. I'm going to change it to X. I'm going to change the medium punch to Y, which it is. I'm going to change the high punch to R1. This is R1. This is L1. This is R2. This is L2. Now I'm going to go do the kicks. I'm going to change low kick to A. I'm going to change medium kick to B. And you'll notice I cannot change, okay? I cannot change R2 to R2 because there's no R2. They don't understand that. And what it's doing is putting the button here, okay? All right, so right now our high kick is right here, L1, which we don't want that. We want it right here, okay? But I'm just going to show you. So we're going to start up, okay? And I'm just going to go game start, okay? You're going to see there's nothing here, right? I can't do anything. And my high kick is over here, okay? That's where my high kick is. Okay, now here's the other thing, right? I told you that this button is select, so it's not doing anything. But watch this button. This button is the start button, okay? So there's a problem with the firmware in the 8bitdo device. Now, there's a Reddit thing out there that tells you to you know, this a long amount of steps to go downgrade your firmware and all this stuff. I'm gonna say don't bother with that, okay? I'm gonna say do this to solve this issue. Now Now listen, actually, before I show you how to solve that issue, I'm also going to show you, I'm going to back out of here, okay? You can use the down select, obviously. And before I tell you how I think you should fix it, I'm going to show you Street Fighter through RetroArch, through alternate core. Now, this is for people who have their SNES modded, okay? So, where's the Street Fighter game? It's this one right here, right? Okay. So you're going to say, okay, why don't you just go into the RA menu, right? Oops, I didn't want to back out there. Good. And change the settings in the RA. So now this is a modded one. We're in RetroArch, okay? You're going to say, go here, okay? And we could do it this way, okay? By going down to controls, okay? And we're going to go into controls, user one device. All you can do is pick the joypad, okay? And when we go down here, right, you know, it still says CloverCon. That's fine. I mean, this is what we're using. You're saying, well, why don't you go down here, right, and put R2 as your L button, because this is R2, okay? So that's great, you know, good idea. We'll go down here, we'll put R2 as R, which I've done, okay? So R2 is R, okay? And R, sorry, R2 is L and R is right there. So, whoops, let me go back down, make sure I didn't change anything, okay? So R, which is right here, is L, right? And R2 is R, okay? So you're going to say, oh, well, great. You know, that fixes it right there. Okay, well, let me show you what happens here. We're going to go back to the game. I'm going to start. Okay. You'll see that it still is the select key. It won't change, and so nothing happens. But when I just push down and select, see how it's still the select key? And now I'm back to the main menu. So you can't play with it like that because this is the select key. So we've tried regular Canoe, we've tried RetroArch, and we couldn't fix it because this sticks as the select key. And again, this sticks as the start key. So what I suggest to do is something fairly simple, and that is you take off the back pad and you switch L1 with R2 in the wiring. Okay, so when you switch those wires, this becomes actually L1, this button, and this one will become R2. So instead it would go R1, R2, L1, L2. So I'm just going to try that. I'm going to switch those wires. It's this one with this one, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we just switched it out. Let's see what happens now. Turn it back on here. Okay, and we are back in. So let's go back to the Canoe one. Okay, and let's see if that worked. We'll go back to the original. Okay, we'll go to our options now, and we're going to set them up low punch, medium punch, high punch, low kick, medium kick, high kick. Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, it looks like our high punch works. Now let's see if our high kick works. Yep, look at that. Yeah, so it looks like it all works. I mean, now again, your start button is still right there, which is a pause. Your select button is still up here, but you don't really need these two buttons. So that fixes the issue of this R1 RT. Now, if you were going to keep it like this forever, I would just put a little tape over there and put this as L1 and this is R1 now. But whatever. That fixes it that way. Okay. Now, that's if you want to use it wirelessly. You can also use this piece of equipment with the USB cord that was provided, and you can hook it up directly to your SNES Classic. Now you're going to say, how do you do that? It doesn't have a USB port, the SNES. You have to use an OTG hub. And I'm going to show you the one I have. I'm going to show you how that works, and I'm going to show you why actually if you hook it up directly it works better, and it works the same as the Rap4, and I'm going to show you how the Rap4 works with that. Okay, but in order to do that, I'm actually going to switch these wires back so I could show you how, so you can see how it works normal. So I'm going to put those wires back and put the buttons as normal. Okay, all right, we'll be back. Okay, I showed you how to use your N30 Arcade stick on the SNES wirelessly, but again, you had to change the L1 and the R2 that way in order to get it to work because of that start select issue. Now, I'm going to show you how to use the Hori next on your SNES, but I'm going to say the same process holds true for the N30 Arcade stick if you want to use the hardware USB that comes with the N30. Okay, but what you need is a USB OTG hub. I use this one right here. So I know this one works, and what you're going to do is obviously plug this into a USB port here, and obviously this plugs into your power. Use the same adapters that you get, okay? And don't try some switch or anything like that. Just use the original adapter. Use the power cord that comes with this Initech, and it should be fine. Okay, the one thing I'm going to say, listen carefully. You start up your Super Nintendo first with the joystick in it, obviously in player one. Once it's started up and you're in the RA menu, then you plug in your joystick into here. Okay, all right, now I'm going to show you. Okay, we're going to go into RetroArch, and now is when we're going to plug in our X Arcade into the port, and you should see on the bottom left of the screen it say that we've entered a joystick in. Okay, Hori Rap4 is now plugged in, and now I can use my stick here to go through RetroArch. Okay, one of the things you may want to do as a setting, these are backwards. The O button is actually the X button. I always get that wrong. Just go down here to input, and make sure that all users control menu is on. That gives all players the ability to control menus, the main menu, this menu. Okay, we're going to go back now, and now we're going to go to quick menu. We're going to go down to controls. Okay, user 2 device, you have to pick joypad. There's nothing really there, but what you're going to do is now you're going to go down to the Hori you can see the Real Arcade Pro right there. Okay, now we're going to have to reassign buttons, which I have already done here. So I put the R1 button right here as the L, which would be high punch, and then I put the R2 button as R. Okay, and you would do the same thing with the N30 Arcade Pro. Okay, so now we're going to go up here. You can save the game map if you want, which I'll do just to do it. So okay, saved, and now I'm going to go back, quick menu, and I'm going to resume. Okay. I'm going to do game start. Now I'm only got player 2 right now, but you see player 1 isn't in there, so I'll just play the arcade with player 2. Okay, you can unplug player 1, and usually this joystick becomes player 1 after you unplug player 1. In this fashion, you can see all the controls are working right. That's kick. So that's working good. And that's how you beat an opponent. That's for Patton, who got his butt kicked when he played Blanca. So all the buttons are working there. You can see pretty well. You know, you don't have to, and you don't have to worry about any start or select. That's the, oh, and there we go, winner. Okay, that's it, guys. Do the same thing with the X Arcade, and that's how you hook up your X Arcade and play with, you know, with it on your SNES. I will say this: make sure whenever you back out, start. Sometimes you have to turn off the SNES, turn it back on, and start from the beginning. Again, make sure it's always unplugged. Turn it on, go into your game, then go into RetroArch, then plug in the joystick. Okay? All right, guys. Happy playing.